starting to feel like everybody here on the show just decides they want to leave me here by myself or just switch up. I think maybe tomorrow I'll be doing this one solo with now Kyle Neubeck out today, Derek Bodner in, Derek off yesterday, Kyle in, I'm here.
If any of us have experience doing a solo show and could pull it off, it is absolutely you. You used to do 4 hours solo.
I used to do 4 hours solo, absolutely. With some producer help and some phone calls, but still. Overall, sometimes it would be tough if you don't get those phone calls and you have to just run for 4 hours. But nevertheless, I know I would be here with Bree and all of you. Derek Bodner, I'm Devon Givens. Kyle has the day off, and Sixers back at practice today. We'll get into that one most likely, well, definitely tomorrow. But we do have to start off as we are here with you, presented by Bet365. Bet365, download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 to sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And we've been saying that about this basketball team all season long, how things have not been ordinary with this group all year long, man. It's really been one of those disappointing seasons that we did not expect. We didn't see this one coming for the basketball team. But with that being said, we're here. 28 games remaining, coming out of the first half of the season, coming out of the All-Star break with a 20-34 record that we keep pounding in because it's just unbelievable that it is the case for the 76ers. But there are a lot of directions that they can go in. They're only a few games out, certainly, of the play-in tournament. They are only a few games back of the 6th seed with 28 games left. All of those teams there from 6 on down are kind of bunched together. Yeah. So what we wanted to start off with here today and talking with all of you about was the second half priority that should be for the Philadelphia 76ers. There are certainly two ways you can go. One is tanking one side to keep that 6th pick, or the other side also being forge ahead, get into the playoffs, and see what happens. But there are a lot of factors in there. You have an injured MVP in Joel Embiid. You have an injured second or third star of your big three in Paul George, who probably needs to rest his pinky, not necessarily showing it on Instagram or Twitter, but resting it either way. And those two are really important as to the success of the Sixers, whatever way you decide to go, unless you also believe that what we saw from Maxey and the others is sustainable to jump in there, get those guys some experience with the 28-game push in the postseason for a play-in, probably losing that first game. But you get Yabusele some extra work. You get Justin Edwards some time there as a guy fighting for a playoff and some real minutes and seeing what he ultimately has. Some more times with Tyrese Maxey and Quentin Grimes out there on the floor, and you get to see some extended time also with Jared Butler. There's a lot that goes into this second half, Derek, with 28 games. And the future also depends on maybe what this could potentially look like later on. So as we start here on this Tuesday and start things off, man, second half priority, where do you lean to start things off for the Sixers?
Yeah, well, I guess what I'll start off by saying is I'm not going to start this off as a tank or no tank discussion. We've sort of had that already. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start off by just saying I would still play Joel Embiid. I think that is actually a priority going forward for a number of reasons. First of all, I think he has to get sort of used to playing with his knee in the condition that it's in. I think he has to put in reps to hopefully get the knee back to where, not necessarily where it was, but to a better spot. And you have to be able to evaluate whether or not he can, because this is the first time in quite a while where he's been symptom free, or at least hasn't had symptoms to the point where it's kept him out of the lineup for a while. So I want to see if he can play a 2-week stretch, a 3-week stretch, a month stretch of playing mostly basketball and mostly doing that without any kind of symptoms or swelling or pain. I want to evaluate that knee a little bit. I want to build up the surrounding muscles and tissue to see if you can have a better chance of him being reasonably healthy next year than you've had so far this year. But I also think you need to evaluate. You need to evaluate what he looks like next to Paul George, whether Paul George is able to continue playing or not. I think you have to evaluate what Gershon Yabusele looks like as a 4 next to Embiid, because that is one of your major critical decisions you have coming up here in the summer. Do you bring Gershon back? Do you hard cap yourself to do so? And if you are going to do that, and you are going to hard cap Gershon or yourself by bringing Gershon back with that non-taxpayer mid-level, he has to be able to play not just as a 5, because as much as we love Gershon, there's some serious limitations that come along with that, namely with rim protection, with defensive rebounding, with really defense as a whole. You're giving up a lot defensively to play him out of 5. I don't want to do that for, he's not going to be worth, let's say, $10 million per year and hard capping yourself in that first year. If it's only to play as a 5, he needs to also add value as a 4. I need to see those two fit together. And It's not really even keeping Joel on the floor to win basketball games this year and push for a playoff spot. It's also for evaluation purposes.
Of course, there are no wrong answers as we go along here. But I think a lot of people would be on the same side as you. But I'm also looking at it, not necessarily the tanking part, because I'm not there for them unless they decide, look, if that's what they. I think that'll happen organically because they've been bad all year long.
They have been bad all year.
Yeah, so yes. They don't need to add to anything. But
they've been bad in October, November, January, and February. Yes, December was a very random good month.
Yeah. Yep, you're absolutely right. But I'll look at it. I'll go the other way, just for argument's sake, as we have a long show here to discuss with you and all the people, that I would look to finally say, you know what? If he's not getting any better, the end game, you are right with everything that you're talking about. As we say, the end game here as our show thumbnail. The end game, though, is too, most importantly, his health. We don't know what he can and cannot do in terms of being able to play, as you just pointed out. But the end game coming into the season, and while things have changed, it's about winning the championship. When we started off this show at the beginning of the season, and we talked about whether it was the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals, of what we expected from them. Of course, we were all there at the Eastern Conference Finals, but I went a step further than you and Kyle and said they have to get to the NBA Finals. Whether they win or not, that's a whole nother story. We'll reevaluate it when we get there. But getting to the NBA Finals, yes, things have changed and you have to adjust in a moment. But when I see them come back next season, Derek, if he has the surgery and it's something that needs to be done and they get it done, I think they need to give him rest. I think that's the direction that they should go. I think it's time for them to get a rest because next year is going to be totally different, I think, because so much could happen once we get to next season if things don't go right for another season and they don't make changes with the big three going into the summer and those 3 guys come back with the supporting cast around them and things don't work out. We know where the conversation is going to start to lean for many more people that are not there just yet. So I look at it and I say, give him the rest, get the surgery done now, let Tyrese Maxey once again run this franchise, see what the 28 games look like. We've seen it before where it didn't work, but you know what? They're not winning the championship. They may not even make the playoffs. So I'm looking at it, rest Embiid. We'll see what happens with Paul George and how he factors in going forward with the pinky still in a splint and how he works around that. And let Tyrese Maxey and those young players just continue to develop and pick things up from there. Because when it comes to the chemistry and the camaraderie, yeah, you're not wrong that they need to go out there and they need to establish that. They need to see what that ultimately looks like. But you also need to see what that looks like with a healthy player that can be explosive, that can make the decisions that he needs to make on the defensive end with less worry about, is he going to instinctively throw the ball off the backboard once again and go ahead and try to dunk and land wrong. And then he's back to where he was last April after he did the same thing against the New York Knicks. This time he's not going to be playing in the Olympics. No, but we're still worried about, did he make it worse by doing something like that? So because of who he is and because of his instinctive nature on the floor of doing things, still thinking that he can do those things, even with that brace, even with it heavily wrapped the way that it is, I can't trust him to not leap into the first round for a loose ball or jump on the floor or make a bad decision that me, you, Kyle, and Bree are sitting back here saying, why did he do that? So to save him from himself in a sense and to make it better and to make him available for the start of next season, I would lean more towards sit him down for the rest of the year. You're not making what you were supposed to make, which is a championship level run. I'm not getting that. I can get back to a full training camp with those reps. I know he's not going to play in the preseason, but I have faith in him enough, healthy enough, that at the start of next season, the 25-26 campaign, that they can all pick it up from there and get it going.
Yeah, I guess my counter to that is every conversation I've had there's nothing like for example, no surgery that they're waiting on. So like the extra time isn't going to lead to a surgery that's going to magically fix it. And also just rest in and of itself isn't necessarily going to change the equation with the knee. Now, what the point you brought out at the end, I think is maybe the most salient in that, that's less time that he will have to make basically harm it, make it worse. That's true. But I also just think like he has to get to the point where he is comfortable with that knee, where he knows what he can do with it. It's only going to really come by playing basketball. And I'd rather sort of get some of that trial and error out now than next year when, you have to start really trying to, because if you look at next year, all right, this is a washed year. Next year, you have to hit the ground running. You can't come out with him basically taking
100%.
7 months off of basketball. I would like some trial and error now, but you're not wrong. Like, do I worry about him diving into the first row? Yeah, a little bit. Do I worry about the off the back? Well, I'm not sure he can do an off the backboard dunk right now. He's not elevating like he was back then. I think that's a fair point. But I do think ultimately the basketball player needs to play basketball, and you can't evaluate the knee. He can't really get to know the knee, and you can't evaluate players fit alongside of him if he's not doing that. Like I said, it's a fair point. I wouldn't play him. I mean, what do they have here? Like
5 back-to-backs in the month of March.
Yeah, no, those he's not playing.
He's not. So those he's not playing it.
And you're sitting there. He's played in 50, or they played 54 games.
54.
So you've got 28 left.
Mm-hmm.
Play him in 16 or 17 of them if he's healthy, and that's a high end. I think that's where I would lean.
So 16 games, get some work in. Try to get some. But what if Paul George is missing that time too? When you talk about the chemistry, the continuity that they need to build. Even with getting used to the knee, that's the continuity he needs to get used to his knee.
Sure.
He also needs to get that continuity with his teammates because he's only had 17 games on the floor with them, whatever it is. That's another part of it, and Paul George might not play in those.
No, I mean, look, you might not get all of the benefits of him playing. Like you might only get him gaining a little bit of confidence in the knee, you getting a better eval of what you can expect from that knee, him gaining some chemistry with not only, Yabusele, but like Grimes and maybe even Jared Butler, who should be back here next year. I think you get some of the benefits, maybe not the whole, host of benefits.
Yeah, it just scares me a little bit.
Oh, look, everything scares me.
Yeah, it really, I know, and that's a shame because that's where we are, but it scares me a little bit simply because of, all right, he's going to go out there and he's going to play, and we're going to see possibly what it looks like out there with him getting used to the knee. But if I'm to also believe, and I'm not, I'm never doubting what your reporting is, Lisa Salter sat there on national television and told us that he said that he needs surgery. And once he gets that surgery. So why wait any longer? That if you want to get that, sure, I want to get him some game time in too. He hasn't been healthy now. He's played on it.
But again, because you brought up the Lisa part to it, I have spoken to multiple people within the organization. There has been no surgery suggested by surgeons that would, like, they're just waiting on. There is nothing sitting here around the corner to magically make it better that I've been told. I think he is a mostly frustrated athlete who wants the knee to get better, is almost hoping that there is a surgery. But from what I've been told by multiple people, there is not a surgery, that they are just delaying until the end of the season.
Is he going to be, all right, so is he going to be in the brace? Is he going to have to be wrapped up this way for the rest of his career, where he's going to have to play this way for him to get used to this particular way of playing with that knee? To have that big brace on there like we see. Rudy Gobert plays with that brace all the time. So that's one thing. Now, he's built differently than Embiid is, and he's been doing it for quite some time. He's used to it. He's a little thinner, too, when it comes to the lower base than what Joel Embiid is. But he is an athletic guy. He still gets up defensively. Joel does things differently on the offensive end as well. Is this something that he's going to have to get used to? And if that's the case, then why can't he do that in the offseason? I know there's no example like the real example of playing in an NBA game, but they also practice with their trainers. They play in these pickup games, and they do those types of rehab things to get them used to that. Where if he does decide, again, him deciding to get surgery, not the team, but him deciding to get that surgery, whether he feels like that's the way to go or not, he's still going to have to get used to that knee that way. And I just kind of lean more in that direction with him at this stage of his career. This is a mess, man. The fact that, again,
whole thing's a mess.
We got to sit here and talk about this once again and looking at the priorities.
It was a nice All-Star break, though, wasn't it? We got a couple days off.
Got a couple of days off. Got a weekend off.
Got to focus on a team in a slightly different direction.
Bringing
in the
you
Eagles
some
for
joy.
a couple days. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. And now we're back to reality, right? Where things are never ordinary, as Bet365 says, with this team and with him.
It's like going from talking about the Eagles is like to the Sixers is like going from, spending an entire weekend doing nothing but everything that you love, and then going back into that 9 to 5 on Monday morning with that boss that you absolutely despise. You have to live with that reality, and we're back in that reality.
And the reality is that the big fella has a bad knee that he's going to have to get used to playing with for most likely the remainder of his career. We knew that, but this has been the worst case scenario of it all. And how does he bounce back? We'll continue to talk about that. Give some more ideas on the other side of what direction the Sixers need to be focused on with these 28 games remaining for the second half of the season. It starts off against the Celtics at home on Thursday. Of course, we'll have pre and post for you. Will Joel Embiid be able to play in that game? We'll talk about it all when we get back, plus more right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday, presented by Bet365. And it's perfect that we discussed Joel Embiid with his injury and Paul George with his injury because, again, if either one of them need to get some extra help, Rothman Orthopedics is the place to go. I am a walking billboard, as I always like to say, because they made sure with my Achilles and my ACL that I've been back to 100%. Not necessarily playing at the level of Joel and Paul George, but, my plans are to be back out there on the floor like I have been in the past. And Rothman Orthopedics, they specialize in care, and that has been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission is high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research that leads to new treatments and better outcomes overall. Each Rothman doc is laser focused with their specialty, hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for each body part right in your backyard as well. So you can get back out there like I want to cross over the defense, do whatever you do out there on the floor to show that you are back to normal with those others that you're out there playing against. Since 1970, their physicians have remained committed to research, innovation, minimally invasive procedures to get you back to what you specialize in. They are Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you and me as well. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country at over 60,000. So if you need to get back, your joints are aching, your back is out of whack, whatever it is, Rothman Orthopedics specialize in orthopedics, and you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. And I got to tell you now about Bet365, our other sponsor here on the show, because Bet365, our presenting sponsor here for a long time here and a big part of our show here on our Sixers broadcast. And while we had some time off and we didn't need to go out there and make any wagers, maybe you did with the All-Star. So you had Tyler Hero, you had Mac McClung, and you had the Cleveland Cavaliers to lock down the entire weekend of All-Star Saturday night overall. And if you did that, it's never ordinary at Bet365 with over 90 million users worldwide, live streaming, 780,000 events a year with early payout offers right now with the NBA and the NHL. They have pioneered live in-game betting, and new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, you get those early payouts. It's beautiful to see that hit your account immediately. Sign up using the code PHLY365 when you deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Again, that's win or lose. Who does that? Bet365, they do that. Tip-off Tuesdays, while there are no games tonight, just to give you a heads up, Tip-off Tuesdays, you place a qualifying parlay bet totaling $20 or more on any game on Tuesday night. Get up to $25 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Open an account right now. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers get $100 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up today. Use code PHLY365. Place a $10 bet. Deposit $10. Place a $5 bet to get $100 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Derek Biden and Devon Givens-Bree producing. Kyle has the day off. We're presented by Bet365, which is never ordinary. Derek, what's next? Who do you have up next? Unless you wanted to continue the discussion on Joel Embiid.
Oh, boy. I'm guessing we will have a chance to talk about Joel Embiid a lot here over the next couple of weeks. So let's move on.
Did you miss him this weekend, though? I mean, I know we missed him all season, but when you look at the best in the league, no Luka Doncic, no Joel Embiid. It was weird not seeing them there. Although I didn't watch a lot, they weren't there.
Say, you know why I didn't miss them? Because I got to completely tune out from All-Star Weekend, and I appreciate that. So I hate having to pretend that I care about All-Star Weekend.
So you heard us talking about it, even though your day off. You heard us talking about it. Just quickly before you get to the next one. For the short time that you did tune in, how bad was it?
Well, so I mostly watch highlights. So like I'll watch dunk highlights. I'll watch 3-point highlights. When I actually tuned in on the All-Star game, all I saw was like Kevin Hart for like 5 straight minutes, and I tuned out. I was done.
And I support Kevin Hart.
Sure.
It was too much.
Yeah.
From what I heard. And even in the one time that I tuned in.
He's the Jason Kelsey of comedians. I've just seen too much of him.
He was there. Don't say that. And
I love Jason. He's just everywhere.
He is everywhere. We were talking about that before the show. He is everywhere. Might take a break a little bit for this offseason. You'll be good. But the one time that I did tune in on Sunday night, and I didn't even say this yesterday. I'm glad you brought it up. Kevin Hart was talking with the TNT crew, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was looking at him, and he's like, "Come on, man, wrap it up so we can start playing again."
Yeah, yeah.
He was right, but why was the TV forcing them to wait? They can talk. Why are you waiting to play? Why are you waiting on them to finish so the players can get started?
It drives me nuts. Everything about it drives me nuts. I'm so happy I didn't care this year. So happy.
So bad. It was good that the Sixers weren't in it.
Yes.
Where we weren't forced to watch it. Yes.
No, I covered 2 All-Star weekends. Joel's first 2 because it was big for him to be out there.
Yeah.
The whole event is just maddening. I like All-Star in the form of I think the best players in the league should be recognized for what they're doing. I think it would be great if All-Star was actually a way to promote the game. Instead, All-Star Weekend has only been a way to promote the celebrities around All-Star Weekend. And everybody wants to come up with these big things like, how do you fix All-Star Weekend? How do you do this? Let's tweak the skills competition and maybe that will generate. No, you have to get the players to care. If the players don't care, the All-Star Weekend's going to suck. And if you then take a 2-hour basketball game and turn it into a 4-hour extravaganza because you have to fit every celebrity under the sun into that production, it's really going to suck.
And yesterday we were talking about the actual time that was spent with the entertainment versus the actual basketball. Yeah. I said it was like 40. Kyle said it was like 30. I think Kyle was mostly right because I saw another report this morning that said it was about 32 minutes. So Kyle, I apologize. You were right. 32 minutes of actual basketball play?
Wild. That's wild.
In a 4-hour production?
No, what they've turned All-Star into is meant for, I'm going to watch the highlights and skip everything else.
So. Unbelievable. All right. I'm sorry.
Other priorities.
Another tangent.
I'm not sure if this is actually priority number 2, but it's the one that came to mind second. I really want to watch Quentin Grimes and Jared Butler. I want to watch the new pieces. Butler, in part because he's just a breath of fresh air. He is something that the Sixers haven't had a lot of. His passing instincts, his creativity, his ability to get into the middle of the floor and actually make plays. Is he going to run into some struggles? Yes, of course. He's not going to be able to finish at the rim all the time. He just doesn't have that kind of vertical pop. He doesn't have elite speed, so he's always going to be shooting a lot of contested shots. Because of that, he's going to have some inefficient nights. But he just has a creativity in the way he goes about creating offense. I'm intrigued to see how it looks. Whether that means that Butler is going to be a long-term fixture of the team or whether that just means he's an archetype. You're almost evaluating an archetype as much as you are a player specifically. I'm interested to see how that looks. And then Grimes is pretty obvious. You're going to have to make a pretty significant decision here in the summer on whether you want to give him the next contract. And on the one hand, he is not a move because you have his bird rights. He alone will not hard cap you. It's one of the benefits. We spent a lot of time in the preseason and in the offseason talking about, all right, now you have your big 3. One of the goals for this season should be to go out and get young players, maybe even young players on rookie scale contracts who are to do extensions, because that's one way to sort of go add salary in future years while sort of skirting the apron rules. So you will be able to re-sign him and not influence your hard cap situation. But if you then go and use the tax or non-taxpayer mid-level on Gershon, then you are hard capped, and how much you give to Grimes matters a lot. So I want to really evaluate, because the Sixers haven't had a lot of these, defensive-minded, off-ball shooting, and honestly, a guy who has a little bit of on-ball creation as well, which I think we saw there in that last game. They really haven't had many players like this. They desperately need one of them to pop alongside of Tyrese Maxey. Like, you need someone with his physical and defensive profile to have enough offense to be playable. So I want to see a lot of him. I want to see a lot of him playing next to Maxey. I want to see those two, see how well they work off of each other, see whether they can build up any chemistry. Because if you have to give him a sizable contract, and again, according to Mark Stein, he turned down a 3-year, $27 million deal coming into the season, an extension. He turned that down. So he's clearly looking for a sizable investment. I hope he's good enough to warrant it, because you do need that archetype. But if you do that, that will then complicate bringing Gershon back.
So real fast on the contract part. I know you wrote about it at allphly.com. Make sure everybody go sign up, become a member. Again, great content from the Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers with Kyle and Derek and their stories. The newsletter from Rich as always. But contractually, what might that look like? Again, if he turned down 3 for 27, and I know that Tim Cato and Kyle also talked about it. Mark Stein, you mentioned from DLLS. I always say it slow. I can't say it with fast. I don't want to mess it up.
It's the double
give it
L's.
an extra
Yeah.
L. I don't want to give it 3 L's. Right? Yeah, exactly. So, what if you had to look at it right now and project it out? What could he get more than 327? Or is he probably going to be more like you talked about the Caleb Martin contract?
Yeah.
Could he get more?
He might be able to get something similar to 327 with the fourth year, maybe.
As
or
a
maybe
player option.
Yeah.
On the fourth?
Or maybe he'll hit, because he'll be a restricted free agent, so the Sixers can match. That tends to cool a lot of interest from other teams. Maybe he'll come to the realization that there's not greener pastures out there.
Yeah.
But no, I think probably somewhere in that 8 to 10 million annual value range is probably about what you're looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and look, I agree with you. That was the one I was going to, and I'll talk about Tyrese Maxey a little bit later, but it was really about Grimes. Butler, yes, because I like Butler, and it is interesting to watch him on the floor. Again, I said it when he was on the floor with Joel Embiid in the very beginning, and he's kind of
I got confidence.
I got this, Joel.
Young fella's got confidence.
I got this. Don't worry about it. I don't need to kick it back out to you. You can't move. So for the Grimes piece, I am, man. I mean, 24 years of age, and to see what that might look like. He may not be a fifth starter. He might be a sixth starter. He might be that extension of what this team looked like, what Kelly Oubre was last season, where he's just that important as that sixth man coming off the bench. So to see what that looks like next to Tyrese Maxey, if Embiid is playing, what that also looks like with those catch and shoot opportunities. He has a very quick release from behind the three-point line. It falls at a decent clip, as we talked about when he was traded here at close to 40%. We have seen that so far. I would have to think it gives a little bit of confidence for him to already drop a 30 spot, even in a loss, that he's going to get some reps. He's going to get some reps, whether it's going to help him out with contractually and what that might look like in the offseason. But for him to get that reps, but to have that young player next to Maxey, when McCain comes back and they have an opportunity to work together in the summer to start to build some of that chemistry in the offseason of some workouts together, hopefully we'll see what that looks like. I am very, very interested in what the Grimes things look like going forward. To have these 28 games, number one, to have him healthy to play in these 28 games, to see what that looks like. To be that two-way player, where we're not talking about two-way in a sense of Paul George's all-star level, but when you're building out a team, you need players like him. That's why so many people were intrigued with the Caleb Martin signing. That's why so many people were intrigued with some of the other people that we did talk about in the past that while they did not come here, it's the same example. Even as someone like Lonnie Walker that we were talking about joining the 76ers, this is a nice move. It's not a move that we need to be celebrating and shooting off confetti. It's just one of, hey, if this is going to build out with some young players, with some of these older guys as well, this is a young guy that could be cost controlled, but it's still going to be really good next to Maxey, knows how Maxey plays already. They just haven't done it on a collegiate and a professional level, but they know one another from their Houston days, their Texas days, how that might look right now with this particular group. And when you do have him out there in replace of Caleb Martin, Paul George playing, now Kelly Oubre out there, that's some pretty good ammunition on offense and some really good speed and athleticism there defensively, that if you do force those turnovers, that you can get out there in transition. The one dunk that he had against the Brooklyn Nets in his couple of games that he's played, he had the one dunk where he got down the lane and he looked like he was going to lay it up, and he turned it over and dunked it. And I don't mean turn it over, of course, in turning it over for the opposition to go the other way. I mean, he went up for a layup, and all of a sudden, bam, and he turned it over and he flushes it. That's some of that athleticism that we want to see. We've seen some of that from Yabusele. We've seen a little bit of it from Justin Edwards, and we've certainly seen it from Ricky Council. But you want to see some athletes out there on the floor running with these two older guys in Paul George and Joel Embiid, but some young legs where we were so excited about Ricky, and we will continue to be excited about Ricky, go get him Rick. But to see a skilled guy like Grimes in the lineup with those, that should be, which is number 2, that is high priority of the Sixers, of the Sixer fan base, and certainly of us, to see what that player in Quentin Grimes looks like with everyone else.
So that means that priority 2A or 2B is no Kyle Lowry. Like, you've got Grimes, you've got Butler. I trust Butler to run the point. You don't need Kyle Lowry on the floor.
Did he sign a 2-year contract?
Which one?
Lowry.
Kyle? I think this is last year.
Was it a 1-year deal?
This is the last year of his deal. Yeah. It's a 1-year deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I wasn't sure. For some reason, I thought he signed a 2-year deal.
Gordon signed a 2-year deal.
Okay.
That might be.
All right. But yeah, Kyle will probably be on the coaching staff if that's what he wants to do at some point.
Give him a hoodie and let him start now. Hoodie and a clipboard. That's fun.
He's been wearing a lot of hoodies this year on the sideline for the Sixers. We'll come back. We'll talk about another one of the priorities for the Sixers in this second half of the season. Folks, 28 games. 28 games. We'll read the Super Chats. I saw that, who was it? Shizzo already mentioned.
We're getting there, buddy. We're getting there.
Yeah, Shizzo was like, do we read the Super Chats? Yes, Shizzo. We got you covered.
End of the show.
We got you, or right there in the middle of the show. We got you covered. We'll get the Super Chats in there. We appreciate you hanging in there. We'll get to our next one and the Super Chats on the other side. The PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365.
All right, first up, I have to tell you about Glatt Hair Restoration. Anyone can buy equipment and say they do hair restoration. Only Glatt Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical offers decades of proven results using an innovative approach and delivered by leaders in the industry. Glatt Hair can help during all stages of hair loss with leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medications, PRP and stem cell restoration, and hair restoration surgery. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. Caring patient advocates work with you from the first phone call to the last follow-up. They understand that this decision can be emotional and challenging, and they're here to help make your experience simple and stress-free. Glatt Hair isn't just about restoration. It's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started. Also want to tell you about Factor Meal Kits. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. So you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. Lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals based on a randomized controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto. Results will vary depending on diet and exercise. And with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Do you have a favorite meal you've tried so far?
Yeah.
Which track did you go on? I went on Protein Plus.
I went with, hold on, let me see what the I think I went with the Protein Plus as well.
They had a smoky chicken that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so so I had the Protein Plus, and last night was my favorite, which was the garlic roasted chicken with the broccoli and the cauliflower.
I really like that. Like they come and it's not, you don't have to, there's not a whole ton of preparation, and they still taste like it requires preparation. Like it's been real good. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Sixers50 off and use code Sixers50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Sixers50 off at factormeals.com/Sixers50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
So I was going to send Bree like the pictures that I had.
Pictures of your Factor.
Yeah. Well, not cooked, but just.
No, it's really nice because like they come and they're like mostly prepared.
Oh, it's prepared.
But they taste really good. The convenience to me is a big selling point for sure.
The chicken,
because there's other ones I've tried where it's like, yeah, the food tastes good, but you have to take an hour and a half to prepare it.
Yeah, the chicken was really good. The chicken was really good.
Yeah, no,
I thought the chicken was really good. The broccoli was good. It was seasoned pretty well. I'm a hot sauce person, so it's nothing against Factor meal kits. Like it wasn't seasoned. I just added hot sauce because I wanted to add hot sauce to it. But I just sent Bree the picture that I took to let people know what it looks like when it does come in the mail. And yeah, man, it's pretty good. They sent the drinks that also came with it. The only one I should have requested was the smoothie. I wanted to try the strawberry banana smoothie. Yeah. So I'll do that next time. And but the Factor meal, there it is. Look, this is mine. Where I laid all of them out, and I'm trying to see which one is the garlic chicken breast with the broccoli. Yep. But yeah, that's how it came. My daughter, she ate one of them already. She said it was really good as well. And breaking news as we welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365. After we got reports from, I want to say it was our buddy Mark Stein was reporting that things didn't go all that. I mean, Lonnie Walker was staying in where was he? Overseas.
Yeah. Lithuania, something like that.
Breaking news, folks. Breaking news. According to Shams, Lonnie Walker, who we just mentioned. I just mentioned Lonnie Walker.
We've been mentioning him since like September. So this is how we know that Daryl listens to the show.
So maybe also, I might have had some information. But whatever. Shams is reporting that Lonnie Walker has agreed to a 2-year, $3 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers, folks. Lonnie Walker, 2 years, $3 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. He was playing in the EuroLeague, and he is coming home. A Reading native for everybody who remembers that.
Yep.
He is a Reading native, and he is now back with the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA. We were talking about it. So, priorities for the second half of the season?
Play Lonnie Walker.
Get Lonnie Walker, and then play him.
And by the way, now definitely don't play Kyle Lowry. Because now you've got 3 other guards that I want to see ahead of him.
Your thoughts?
I mean, look, we have been talking about Lonnie since like September. It might even go back to August. And I feel like he's brought up like once a week, just randomly. So look, do I know how much he has left? No. He was with the Celtics for preseason, I think, something like that.
Celtics on a Exhibit 10.
And they decided not to bring him to a full contract. I have to go back and watch some tape on his play in Lithuania or wherever it was. I should probably figure it out before I go look at try looking for tape. No, look, any guard who has a hint of shot creation, of athleticism, of defense, bring him on. Willing to give him a tryout. He said it's a 2-year deal at $3 million. Curious to see what the details of that second year are. But either way, this now brings the Sixers up to 15 roster spots used because after converting Edwards and Butler and now signing Walker, that's up to 15. So the 10 days, Roddy, nice seeing you, but that's now a thing of the past. And the Sixers are there for the remainder of the season. No, I'm happy for this. I am. Yeah, it's just a more watchable product.
So am I, man. Give us again just more evaluation of what things might look like for the Sixers and another player that you can, as you said, look. I'm curious to see what the second year looks like. But if this is one where we're going to actually get to see him play and see him play some meaningful minutes and get out there and do something with this team. He might save. Kyle Neubeck already tweeted out, season saved. Right? Quote tweeting Shams' report, season saved.
And, it's Lithuania. Zalgiris and Lithuania.
Okay, yeah. So this is good. For where we are right now with the season, needing some more talent, needing some more people that can simply score the basketball. I mean, Derek, they scored, under 100 points against the Brooklyn Nets in that last game?
Yeah, their offense has been bad.
It's been really bad. And he's not going to come in here and just light the world on fire, but we know he can score the basketball. Yeah. Defensively, that's another question. But offense, he can score.
And he's got some, defensively, there's some questions, but he's got some decent size. He's, a good 6'4", 6'5" in shoes with, I think, a pretty good wingspan, if I remember correctly. Somewhere like a 6'11", 7-foot wingspan. So he has some abilities defensively, at least. Averaged 13.6 points in the EuroLeague in 19 EuroLeague games. Started 15 of them. Only played 22 minutes per night. You don't usually see guys playing, 30-plus minutes over there. They just have a lot of depth. So 13.6 points in 22 minutes. Relatively efficient. Didn't shoot three ball all that great, but he has been a streaky three-point shooter for most of his career. Anyway, you're not really counting on that. No, I am. It really does. Okay, obviously the Joel Embiid extension. Not starting off great. Paul George 4-year contract, not starting off great there either. You can at least see the logic in bringing Paul George in.
Yes.
The one thing I just never understood was bringing a bunch of old, slow, short guards to play alongside Tyrese Maxey. That wasn't going to help alongside Joe. That wasn't going to help when Tyrese was trying to run the show without Joe. I never understood the logic of, the Reggie Jackson, the Kyle Lowry, the Eric Gordon, I understood a little bit more just because he has that off-ball shooting gravity. But, Reggie and Kyle specifically, I just never understood logically, and it certainly played out that way as the season went on. And getting Grimes, getting Butler, getting Lonnie now, it's too little too late, which is why it's good that Butler is already locked in for next year, Lonnie is locked in for next year, and Grimes is a restricted free agent. It's not going to save this season, but you can at least start, almost like I said with Jared, you can at least start evaluating different archetypes of guards to pair alongside Tyrese. And even if these specific guards don't work out, and I like Jared and think he can be a backup point guard, even if these specific ones don't work out, you now get a blueprint of what to pursue in the future.
Let's look at the future here, and then we'll get to the super chats. Got you, Shizzo. We got you. Let's look at the future. Let's assume that this team is Joel, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey all back, and you have those three as your core. Let's say that Gershon Yabusele also re-signs and he's here, and Kelly Oubre is also here. What does that back end now look like with Grimes, Walker, Justin Edwards, whoever? How would you like to see it? Every team does something in the offseason, but if you look at it right now and you look at the next five, we've done this before where we've talked about, this guy's on the fringe. Kyle Lowry and Reggie Jackson were kind of still in there with Eric Gordon. How would you look at the next five?
Yeah.
When you also add these three new pieces in, if you are to include Jared Butler.
Well, they're pretty set now.
And don't forget about Jared McCain.
Of course not. Never could. Will be a little interesting. We can't just call him Jared next year. We'll have to go by their last names.
Got to go to McCain, yeah.
They're pretty much sitting here with, I think, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 players, I know, talking, literally counting on a podcast. Just great content. I'm the best. They pretty much have 12 players, not counting Gershon, under contract for next year, or at least players with team options.
Yes.
So there's really not a whole lot of wiggle room. Bring back Gershon, that's 13. Actually, now with Walker, that's 14. So there's legitimately not a whole lot of decisions to be made, I don't think. Now, obviously, some of them, I'd try to move Andre Drummond, clear that $5 million in space off. I would, try to move Eric Gordon, not necessarily even to create cap room, because he could opt out and there's some cap things, but he could come back on basically a minimum cap hit. But you want someone younger, maybe a different profile. I think you're pretty set with guards. You've got a lot of options there on guards. Maxey and McCain being the two front runners. Then you've got Grimes, you've got Butler, you've got Walker. I don't think you need a 1 or a 2. And obviously you've got some bigs, both Embiid, Bona, Yabusele. You can go between the 3 or the 4 and the 5. Maybe you get one more, big to replace Drummond.
Yeah.
But
and
I think
preferably younger.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you look for forwards. I think you look for bigger forwards who can switch between that 3 and the 4.
Are you talking 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah, something in that mold. Maybe someone of a rookie council archetype, but who Nick Nurse will actually trust.
Yeah.
I think you start looking for bigger forwards.
Okay.
Because really, right now, when you look at it, which is funny, because I feel like we had a lot of bigger, that type with like KJ and whatnot to start the season. They really, in terms of like big forwards, they have Paul George, Ricky, and Edwards, and that's about it. So I'd like some more wings.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And so look, I mean, even though Lonnie Walker is older than those guys, he's still an athletic freak, man. He can still get out there, fly, and finish the way that he does. So he is a guy who can get out there and get after it still with that athleticism. So still 6'3", I believe he is. He's still about 6'3", but we know
6'3" without 6'4.5" with shoes.
But we know how he plays with that athleticism that makes things a little bit differently. And again,
I hope he's still 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
If he changed, that would be quite a story.
Yeah, that would be a real story that we could focus on. Yeah. All PHLY.com.
Not completely out of the question though, with every weird medical thing that has happened to this team.
All right, real fast before we get to the super chats, we do want to tell you about the St. Patrick's Day gear that we have. We've been telling you about the gold standard at store.allcitynetwork.com. Well, we also have some more stuff. St. Patty's at All City, man. Got to gear up. You know how you go from spot to spot, location to location. You got your green on. You might go with your Birds green from the Gold Standard collection, but you can also go with your St. Patty's Day at All City collection. Look at that. Day of drinking champions. Look at that one on the right.
Look, with what this team does to you, I get it. Trust me. I don't need St. Patty's Day for that. I just need a basketball game.
Just make sure you drink your Z-Biotics. That's all. And get that. So, and Kyle, by the way, Kyle Wright says he's listed at 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan. Yeah. He's not 6'5".
Well, but he was, I think he was like 6'3" without shoes, 6'4.5" with shoes, which they then rounded up. So I think we're just talking about different measurements.
We're all in the same, all in the same spot. But you're right, Kyle. We appreciate that one, Kyle Wright. So make sure you go to store.allcitynetwork.com to purchase your St. Patty's at All City shirt to get ready as you go from location to location.
We've got a lot of new merch coming out too. Obviously, we still got a lot from the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
I ordered mine yesterday.
I haven't made a decision yet.
Yeah, I made my decision. Yes, done.
Okay,
done and done. Super chat time. Let's get to it. Shizzo, we see you in the super chat. First, let's read the first one that says, "Damn, we don't read super chats no more." LOL.
It's always been the end of the show. Now, I will say
we mixed them in.
Maybe I don't know if you saw yesterday's show, but we had some technical difficulties with our Friday super chats. Devon and Kyle addressed those on Monday's show.
Yes. So
did you reveal the real reason why we didn't?
Yeah, because we wanted to get back out to the parade stuff. Yeah.
I didn't know if we were like lying about
that. We told them we wanted to get back out there with everybody else. We recorded.
So if like your complaint is that we didn't read them on Friday's show, that is true. But there was a lot going on.
So Friday. Shizzo, we got you covered. So
go check out Monday's show.
Let's go. First one, Bree, Shizzo. It ain't gonna happen with Embiid. Retool around Maxey, or you risk losing him with Clutch Sports and Rich Paul. Not going for another year of inconsistency with the lineups overall. They have had 33 after Grimes started against the Brooklyn Nets. 33 different starting lineups this season. That's wild. Played 54 games.
And I'm going to guess that number is going to go up.
It's going to reach the 40s, probably.
No, look, do I think they're going to trade Embiid? No. Do I think you could have a conversation about it? Like, there's certainly more uncertainty and more negativity, not even around him as a player, just him as an available basketball player. But his value right now would be so low, and Daryl's only focus right now is contending in the short term. I would be pretty surprised.
Yeah.
It's just if he's unable to play basketball, that impacts his trade value, and that lowered trade value impacts Daryl's willingness to trade him. I don't think it's going to happen.
Shizzo keeps going. Shizzo flex. Hard work beats talent. When talent fails to work hard. Embiid, more talented, but Maxey, I believe, would do whatever it takes to win, and I can bet on that. Here's my question.
So I would say no.
Here's my question, Shizzo. Why would you say no?
Talent wins. Talent, the NBA has proven time and time again that talent wins. Like, Jokic isn't the most conditioned athlete in the sport. He's the most talented athlete in the sport. I think by and large, you can look at Embiid's career. And for the record, I think he's actually done a pretty good job of trying to lose weight and get himself into a spot where he has a better chance of that knee working. It obviously hasn't worked out, but I give him credit for losing weight. He has clearly not been the best conditioned athlete throughout the course of his career, though. But him, especially in the previous couple of years, impacted winning in a way that Tyrese Maxey just hasn't. And do I trust Maxey as like a worker more than almost anyone on the team? Perhaps most people in the league? Yes, but talent is still like you have to be a true top 10 player, a true like generational type talent, a true MVP contender, somebody that's actually going to give you championship equity. You need more than hard work and talent. I think the history of now, obviously, you would like both.
Yeah.
And I think when you start aging into your 30s, that hard work and those habits and that attention to detail becomes a much bigger part of the equation. I think Joel is probably witnessing that in real time. You prefer not to be an either or, but like talent wins still.
Yeah, and Heva says in the chat, let's just reiterate something that you pointed out in the offseason and all of the offseason, building a team around Maxey. Is the next piece to add is a great big. And look what we already have on the roster. A great big.
Dembona.
Great big. There you go.
Adam bonus, baby.
So, but no, man, I mean, and I also think this too, which is kind of part of what we were going to get into before the Lonnie Walker news came down, was both of us talking about Tyrese Maxey and his ability to carry a team by himself and win games. So the hard work and the talent is there with Tyrese. How many games are you going to win? What are you going to win with him as the lead guy? Although I was interested in seeing the rest of the way if Embiid couldn't play, because I think he has a different outlook on it. From last year, he talked about the early difficulties of this season, having to do that by himself with both Embiid and George out for a lot. He has then since settled in.
Yeah. No, here's what I'll say. I think Maxey has taken a clear step since like January 1st and shown more signs of being capable of being that 1 or 1A option than he has at any point in his career. So I think the discussion is probably more valid than it's ever been. My concern, and it's a big one, if you do have to retool, are you, first of all, especially if you're talking about trading a compromised Embiid who's not going to have any return, can you do that quick enough where he and Rich Paul are going to be happy, or are you going to be worried about that timeline? Because he is, I think it's been very clear how much losing has impacted Maxey. If he has to do that for 2 years while you try to retool and get the pieces around him, are you risking losing him as well?
Yeah.
And again, that's not coming from Maxey has said anything or anything of that sort, where you're getting a real hint. It's just reading, the way he reacted to losing and just looking at the reality of the league. When a player like Maxey has improved so much and become an all-star caliber, all-NBA caliber player, they usually don't like going through like 2 years of playing sub 500 basketball. That's real tough to navigate.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see what that looks like going forward with Maxey out there for the 28 games. Hopefully he's all well rested. I
can't believe he finally got us Lonnie Walker. Been talking about it all the time.
I know. So that's
legitimately like once a week, we'll just randomly it's our Lonnie Walker moment of the week.
So who exactly should have been sponsored by this time by no one? So what was the holdup? Was it Lonnie Walker's side? Was it the Sixers side? Because when we were talking about it, it was they were still there. Arrow kind of can point up, and you get some help there, some scoring off the bench, a little bit of scoring punch. 28 games left, and while they can still make the postseason, maybe he could have helped you win some games with some scoring off the bench, where you don't lose those close games that we've talked about them losing 5 by 5 and 6 and 4 and 3 points, where you have a few more than 20 wins right now and less than those 34 losses. I wonder what the holdup was on that one. So, all right, Furious in the Super Chat. It's a question about acquisition, but it involves moving 2 of your better players and the best player. Furious asks, would you trade Embiid and McCain for Ja Morant? Is Maxey still on the team?
Yeah, I was going to say, how are those two playing alongside of each other?
They can't.
That would be awful defense.
That would be.
And by the way, if you talk about trading for someone who's not available, no, he's been a little, although he hasn't played a ton of games this year.
Although there hasn't been some buzz of them maybe just deciding to, I don't think it's going to happen, but talks are out there.
Yeah.
Embiid, McCain, no.
It's just,
I would not. Furious, I would not.
It's not a good pairing with Maxey, I don't think.
No. And we were talking about.
He obviously, like Ja on his own, has more trade value at this point than Embiid, I think.
Yeah.
Even with, and look, Ja has his own threat of missing games, risk profile that I think a lot of people would be scared about, but no, I wouldn't. I don't think it fits.
Yeah, no fit, Furious. Thanks for the super chat, though. Shizzo with another one. Shizzo just rolling since Friday, just rolling on these super chats, and we appreciate it. $400 million in salary on the bench, missing games, put a team around him, Maxey, and then tell me he can't get it done. How did Curry look when he had Clay, Draymond, and they were hurt? Was hurt.
Yeah, I mean, look, I give Maxey a lot of credit for the way he's played here over the last 6 weeks. I think he has shown real signs as a scorer and being able to handle the pressure he receives on the perimeter. I think he's shown real signs as a passer and a playmaker. I think he's controlled the offense well. I think he is taking a very meaningful step.
And if they ever moved on from Embiid, of course it's an if for a while, I think. Yes, I would be interested to see what that team looks like. And one of the things that we talked about, Shizzo, I know I focused on was when Embiid and George, that $400 million that you're talking about, was sitting on the bench and those guys were winning games at 4 in a row. He was the main piece of it, and you got those other players running up and down the floor. You saw a different type of speed to the game. We all know that with the pace. And they won those 4. They lost the 2 to Denver and Boston. But he looked really good with those other. He had a 19-game streak of at least 25 points. He was hooping. He was balling out. You need more than 4 wins. Yeah. And, January wasn't all that good. And you're right, building the right team around him where he's the focal point. I understand that. Where you get somebody like Paul George, you get another, maybe an athletic big to play the 5 in Joel's place. I get all that, but we also see how important he is next to Embiid. Even when Embiid, because we've always talked about him, even with the injuries, the skill set ages pretty well. And Tyrese Maxey next to Joel Embiid getting that attention is damn good.
Yeah. No,
damn good.
It really, the whole, the shame of sort of like the entire Embiid era is they almost went out of their way to sign or build a team around Embiid that just flat didn't fit. Like 12, wasting all that money. Don't need to relitigate that. But Ben Simmons is like the exact point guard you wouldn't pick to build your team around a post up and or, short roll big. The absolute, because Ben can't run a pick and roll because nobody goes over it. You want a lot of games because defensively they fit real well. But offensively, they were just the exact wrong fit if you're talking about a Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris core, and you wasted most of his prime. Then all of a sudden you start figuring it out. All right, you get Harden, and that didn't work out because Morey didn't want to pay him, and which I understood at the time. But when you look at it now, like it would have been a better contract than the Paul George one. And then you finally get Maxey, and he develops, and he's the perfect fit. Absolutely, we were sitting here in late April and early May of last year talking about like, oh my gosh, they finally this is the perfect match of skill sets. They're completely in lockstep, and then his knee is just gone, and he hasn't been on the court consistently really ever since. And it's just it's going to be the defining era, defining this era of Sixers basketball. Went from horrible roster management to his knee's just done.
Yep.
And I hope for a miracle that he's able to play more consistently so that they can try to rewrite that. But it will be criminal. It really will.
All right, folks, for the people who are watching on Fast, we want to say thank you for checking us out on the television side. Make sure you check in here at allphly.com to watch the remainder of the show as we kick it with you for a few more minutes before we step away. Again, diehard membership at allphly.com, store.allcitynetwork.com for the St. Patty's shirts, or also the gold standard shirts for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Go check all of that out now. Right now, we mentioned the subscriptions being up. We're up to 41 and a half, so go spread the word. Tell a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend. So all the people on Fast, thank you so much for joining us. Switch over to allphly.com.
I just want to say, I'm usually terrible about that transition. Absolutely terrible, because we want to, people watching there, we want to make sure they know before the hour mark. I usually talk right past it or interrupt Devon when he's starting to do it. I noticed that. I stopped myself a minute short. I had like 2 more minutes of a rant to go, and I stopped myself. I just want to pat myself on the back because I never do that. I never hit that.
You did good, man. You did good. Stop yourself
Gotta
right
take
around.
the small wins when you can get them,
Hey,
buddy.
man, it worked out perfectly, and the people are still here hanging out with us. I'm looking at it right now on the YouTube. Folks are still hanging out with us. And as we do it, though, just real fast, before we get to our world-famous roll call, shout out everybody before we step away. Sixers do have practice today, and we'll have
Later
a chance
today.
later today. We'll have a chance to talk about it.
When was the last
tomorrow.
time you saw a night practice?
Yeah, I can't remember being there at night a lot. The only vivid one that I was there in the evening was the Markelle Fultz workout.
Yeah, but that was a workout.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's the last time I could really
also,
think
of it. My great draft scouting skills told everyone not to worry about the fact that Markelle couldn't shoot at that draft workout.
I was right there with you.
Whoops.
I was right there with you, my man. It was a long ride from DC.
Well, and in 99% of occasions, you don't worry about a player that you've watched shoot all year in game situations have an off night in the gym. It's just, well, all right, he's changing his form. Whoops.
Yep. So tomorrow, we should be able to have some things for you here on the show. I'm sure we'll get some clarity from this latest news about maybe Lonnie Walker. Maybe we get some clarity there. And certainly the current players on the team coming back from the All-Star break and see what the coach and the players and maybe even the general manager, president of basketball operations have to say. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. And we'll give you all that tomorrow. 3 p.m. showtime tomorrow once again. Maybe all 3 of us will be together tomorrow.
Knows? Or maybe you'll be doing a solo show, buddy.
Maybe we
Get
won't.
those super chats ready because Devon's going to need something to talk about.
Or maybe Bree we'll be sitting here together talking some hoops as we get ready for the start of the second half of the season. With all that said, let's get to the world famous roll call here on this Tuesday. Did you write all of them down?
I did not. I completely forgot about the roll call because I usually forget about the roll call, but I knew Kyle.
But you normally write them down.
No, I normally do because like now we're subject to the scroll and how many that buffer has for you. Oh well,
right.
Too bad. We'll start it off with a new one here. Cheddar, appreciate you joining.
What
Cheddar.
up, Cheddar?
Martian Lynch, Money Mar, I Gavini.
What up, Mar?
PHLY Guy.
PHLY Guy, we see you in there.
X-Man, Brian Knight.
Martian Lynch said maybe Summer Walker. So she can sing some songs for the show.
Brian Knight.
What up, B-Knight?
Bootzilla.
Boots.
Pastor Tim Johansson. Mary Overfield.
Hey,
Always
Mary.
Appreciate Mary
Always
dropping by.
Mary
Kyle
Johnson.
Wright.
Kyle Wright.
Let's see. It's a whole bunch of repeats.
I saw Kyle Newbeck in there.
I did see Kyle Newbeck. That's right. I don't think he needs a shout out. He gets enough airtime, but that's true.
All right.
See, this is always the problem with trying to do it live from the bottom, and why I like to write it down is because a lot of people then repeat themselves, and you just see the same names over and over again. INS there. Mom's grandchildren. Got a shout out.
Hey,
Mom's
Mom.
grandchildren. Scrolling up, just a lot of people arguing amongst themselves.
Your shirt is
Furious,
ordered, Mom.
Furious
Don't worry
was there.
about it.
AA Ron. Shout out
What
to
up,
AA
Aaron?
Ron, SB Cole, Jess with the Purple Heart, Elaine
Hey,
Bruno.
Jess. Hey, Lane.
Lost Sleep TV.
Don't lose sleep. It's the All-Star break.
Yeah. I think that's probably all I can find. Quick, Remo K. I don't know if I shouted out Remo.
What up,
K.
Remo?
Shizo Flex for the numerous super chats, of course.
Oh, yeah, Shizzo.
Shizzo.
Shizzo and Furious. Thank you for the super chats.
Provolone John. I see Provolone John. I'm just going to keep scrolling and see if I find any random names. But I think that's probably a good place to cut it
What
off.
up, Provolone? Well, we appreciate it. Make sure you go like and subscribe to the show. And when you do, hit the bell icon so you can get the alert that it is, in fact, showtime. You got the bell on your side.
Oh.
By the way, what up, X? We see you in there. What up, X, as well. So hit the like and subscribe. Hit that like button. Our show today presented as always by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app using code PHLY365. And when you do, make sure you get in there, jump on in and join Bet365. It's never ordinary at Bet365. So we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for another 3 p.m. show. We haven't had 3 p.m. shows in a week in a long time. So this has been fun. We'll get one more in tomorrow. We'll have some stuff for you from practice tonight as to what went down, and we'll lay it all out for you tomorrow at 3 p.m. We'll see if we're all here together or if I am doing a solo show and maybe have to reach out to one of you to come in and sit with me and Bree to do a show tomorrow.
Send you guys an eCam link. Just have a random diehard member on the show.
And that's the real diehard membership right there. You get to host the show with me because Derek and Kyle bailed out on me tomorrow. So we'll see how all that goes.
You should coordinate with Kyle, get him to like show up at the last minute just to get you nervous.
Listen, like you said, I've done it before. So if anybody wants to let me know now in the chat if you want to host with me tomorrow and Bree, host with me and Bree tomorrow because these guys are going to bail out on me. I'm sure of it. Randy says, tag me in. Randy, you're in. Done.
Randy Rubart, I know
we already know Randy can fill in. So yeah, we've seen it. So everybody have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. as the Sixers get closer to the start of the second half of the season. And again, Lonnie Walker, according to Shams, set for 2 years, $3 million, a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. And we'll see if we get some info on that later tonight at practice. Everybody have a good rest of the night. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. right here on the PHLY Sixers Show presented by Bet365. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.